what's going on? And welcome to the Weekenders. This is the show where we talk about the biggest football games of the weekend. I'm Max, joined by Lexi and Bobby here on the Multiplicity Media YouTube channel. And man, football craziness has not ended. We had a crazy ending to the Chiefs and Bills game, which has everyone on TV talking about what does it mean to be offsides, I guess, and uh, some crazy finishes like the Ravens Lions game, which Lexi of course experienced. Just all around the league craziness in football this week. So happy to be back for another week to talk to you guys about it.
For sure. And I feel like NFL is just crazy this year. Just so unpredictable. It makes it nice because it's chaos, but I just don't want to get sucked down like some of these other teams are doing. Like, whew.
Yeah, the NFL thrives when it has the most amount of parity, which is the case we're in right now. It is so fun, so up and down. Every week you don't know what's going to happen. I mean, just look at the Miami Dolphins. The second the Chiefs went down, they were probably feeling pretty good, pretty on top of the world, and then they turn around losing the Titans on Monday night. So everything is up for grabs all the time. It's incredibly exciting.
I think this is definitely the year where I feel like I've seen more random things happen, like in terms of just the finishes, have been crazy. Um, this past week is a great example, but I feel like just the stuff that you couldn't even imagine, like having a big result on a game is happening this year. Um, but let's talk about before we get into the NFL, which we're going to talk about pretty much all throughout the show today. Let's talk about some players who will be future players in the NFL. With, of course, the announcement earlier this week of Drake May declaring for the draft. That sort of that first domino to fall in the top five ish players of the draft. Still waiting on an announcement from Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. Although I believe both of them have said they are not going to play in their bowl games, um, but we don't know if they're going to,
I think he
or
had
they
an
had
offer there.
officially stated whether or not they're going to go to the NFL draft. But Drake May obviously has done that. So the question I have is the Bears, thanks to my Carolina Panthers and their ineptitude, it seems like they will have the number one pick as of now, unless the Patriots can stop themselves from winning unnecessary games. Uh, and the Panthers can find a way to win some games, but that's looking unlikely as the weeks go on. But if you're the Bears, obviously Justin Fields is showing some flashes as of late, but you've got that number one pick. You know, what do you think they should do? Should they take a Drake May or Caleb Williams, or should they get Marvin Harrison Jr. and ride it out with Fields?
I'm going to
Yeah,
give a
I
bit of a
don't.
hot. You got it,
Yeah, go
Lexi.
ahead. I was just saying, I don't think that I don't think that they're going to draft a quarterback now. I mean, and it's not that I never thought that Justin Fields wasn't it, but like they've been clicking, and even like some of the close games they've lost and stuff, like he is showing promise. And I mean, what I saw that he was like one of the fastest ones to get like 2,000 yards rushing and some random stat, but it was pretty impressive. Where you don't realize like he has been doing a good job, as this whole team kind of stinks. So I I think they might go Marvin Harrison Jr., which will make me sick to my stomach knowing that duo will be in the North. But I don't see them taking a quarterback now. Could they end up trading this first pick and get like a bunch like later on? That's probably going to be like the second best thing, but we'll see.
So, Lexi, I'm right there with you on that last point. I think that's what they do. Um, because here's the thing is they don't need a quarterback right now. I'm not giving up on Fields yet. That time will tell whether or not that's a mistake. But what they need is way more than a quarterback. They need to shore up that offensive line. Fields is running for his life, getting hammered every time. Marvin Harrison, as good as he is, receiving wise, that's not really a big issue for the Bears. DJ Moore has been very solid. DJ Moore is also not Marvin Harrison Jr. I totally understand that. But my thing is, they need to shore up other positions of weakness. They across the board, they need to do way, way, way more to improve their team. So the best move there, trade down to a team that needs a generational quarterback, have them overpay, much like, I believe, was it to the Cardinals? Or no, the Cardinals didn't overpay. Well, the Texans just ended up being good. But much like last year, people will pay a premium to, take a really big swing. So, the Texans traded up with the Cardinals. That's what it was.
Yeah.
Quarterbacks go at a premium, and I think they can cash in and improve their team holistically. That's a smart move to do. Chicago Bears, you never know though.
This is a nice, interesting conversation because DJ Moore is a nice number one wide receiver, and he's pretty much been that his whole career. But I think he would be a phenomenal number 2 receiver. Like Marvin Harrison Jr. comes in and he's like the best receiver on the team day one. He's your number 1 receiver, and DJ Moore as a 2 receiver with Justin Fields. That takes a lot of pressure off of Fields because now he doesn't have to do that much. You get a solid running game. Maybe you're able to bolster up that offensive line. Now you're cooking with grease with 2 great receivers. So that's something that they can think about. I think this conversation really comes down to if the Bears want to pay Justin Fields because his contract is going to come up. I don't know if it's this offseason or the next, but you're going to have to pay him sometime soon. So if the Bears want to reset the clock, so to speak, and get a quarterback on a rookie contract that, face it, at this point, I think scouts would probably take Drake May and Caleb Williams over Fields unanimous to a man. All of them probably would. Like that's a fair thing. That's a fair approach to take. Get a more talented guy on a rookie contract. That's one way you could go. But they're going to want to decide if they want to do that or have the opportunity to surround the quarterback they already have with 2 awesome receivers in DJ Moore and obviously Marvin Harrison Jr. Right now, Vegas is saying that Caleb Williams will be the number 1 pick. The odds are minus 500. You can get Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1 pick odds though at plus 2,000. I'm not mad at that actually. Like the Bears are just like, hey.
I mean, I just really hope the Bears don't take Marvin. Let me just say that and manifest it. Put it out there. Trade those picks.
I think the fit is really good there. I just don't know if I love it at 1. I think the best thing they could do potentially set up a bidding war between the Patriots and whoever, trade down. I think trading down for Marv and then an extra high point or high pick that you can figure out with, that might be the move. That might be a little bit too high, but I don't know. I don't hate the fit with Harrison Jr. on the Bears.
I think it'll be interesting to see what the final draft order is because the team that trades up is going to have to be a team that doesn't have the number 2 pick, right? So like for example, if the order stays how it is now and the Patriots keep the number 2 pick, well, they're not going to trade up to number 1 because they're just going to draft Drake May at 2 if the Bears get Caleb Williams or whatever, or whoever the number 1 pick is, Caleb Williams. So I think it'll have to be a team that's like, all right, we don't, maybe at 3 or 4, that's like, okay, we don't benefit from taking Marvin Harrison Jr. with no quarterback, or you're at 4 and you don't have a chance at the top 3. And maybe the Bears are like, you know what, we'll keep Justin, trade back, and grab his name's escaping me, but the left tackle from Penn State or Harrison. Like, I think we're going to know more when the draft order comes out, but I think it's an interesting conversation right now. And one more point on the odds. Like we said, Caleb minus 500 to be the number 1 pick. If you can also take the field at plus 330. So
I love that. Yeah.
Well,
I don't know. because I still think Caleb Williams is the guy. He's more dynamic than Drake May. I feel like in the past we've overthought it a bit when there's like a great prospect right there, and then you pick, I don't know, like I don't want to kick Daniel Jones while he's down, but and he's been good. I'm trying to think of a guy who's just an absolute Sam Darnold. Going with Sam Darnold over Lamar Jackson, for example.
Yeah, yeah.
Was that how that shook out? I just remember everyone talking about Darnold like the whole time.
I think a good example of overthinking to me would be like taking a Zach Wilson or a Trey Lance over Justin Fields, because
Perfect.
like Fields isn't amazing, but like his skill set coming out of college to me was way more promising than what Zach Wilson showed and what even Trey Lance showed too. I think that's probably the better example. But anyway,
Agreed.
This conversation is not over. We'll be talking about this for months and weeks to come. Let's check in on the NFL playoff picture real quick before we jump into these games. Right now, it is a tight race on both sides. The Niners got a big win this weekend, and so did the Cowboys. We talked about it last week. The Cowboys put themselves at first in the NFC East by beating the Eagles soundly at home, took care of business. They won the type of game that we always say, like, we don't know if they can win these big games, the big moments where they can grab the brass ring and be first and take first place. Now they're in pole position to uh, win the division and get that home playoff game. And if the 49ers fall off and the Cowboys can keep going, they may be able to get the number one seed. And who knows what they'll do with that. So the Niners and Cowboys are 1 and 2 respectively. The Lions still sitting at their spot at 3, probably not going to move from there. You know, could move up, but we'll see what happens. The 4th spot obviously is going to be whoever wins the NFC South, which is a depressing race to watch right now with the Buccaneers and Saints all 6 and 7, and the Panthers not even having a prayer of a chance to win. That kind of sucks to watch. Eagles obviously in the 5th spot. Vikings and the Packers are 6th and 7th. And then down the line, you still have the Rams, the Seahawks in the hunt as well. Trying to get in from the outside. On the AFC side, we got the Ravens in the lead, the Dolphins at 2nd, Chiefs at 3rd, Jaguars 4th, and then the Browns, Steelers, Colts, Texans, Broncos, Bills, Bengals, all sort of in the conversation. Is there anything that stands out to you about like where everything stands right now? Any bold predictions you guys want to make? We're going to talk about all the games and stuff, but like, what do you guys think about what the playoff picture looks like right now?
There's
And
just
by the
so
way,
much that's still like up in the air. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like it I can't even tell you like what's gonna happen because I feel like so many teams are like in the race. I just think that right now, San Fran is just above everybody. And like, it's like them and kind of like everyone else trying to fight their way back up to the top. So it's gonna be like a crazy, chaotic next couple weeks. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I frankly have no read at all on how this is going. So many twists and turns. It's been wild. I'm not trying to give a cheap generic answer or anything, but it's just been really hard to predict. I think I'm trying to look at I think the Texans might have a chance at a run here, honestly. Browns at home, Titans at home, and then at the Colts, who are just dead in the water. So my crazy prediction: Houston Texans, AFC South champions.
that
It's
is a
spicy.
no. That's a good one. And we're gonna talk about the Jaguars a little bit later, so that's a good one to hold on to. So far, the 49ers are the only team that have clinched the playoff spot. No one else has clinched the playoff spot so far but the Niners. Some I'm sure a couple of these other teams will do so this weekend, but yeah, I think what's interesting, you mentioned the Texans, Bobby. Like, I think, um, I think the first in the AFC East race is going to be interesting. The Bills have a tough next few games. and the Dolphins sort of fumbled the bag there with the loss to Tennessee, because that could have kept them going in that gap to to stay in the NFC East lead, which they still have. But that race at the end of the year will be super interesting because the Bills are finding ways to win these games, these tough games, and the Dolphins for the rest of the year have the Jets, still to face the Cowboys at Baltimore, and then Buffalo at the end of the year. Week 18 game against Buffalo might decide the AFC East. And the loser could miss the playoffs. Like that could be the difference so far. So that's going to be a really fun race to watch.
Yeah, I think that like the Bengals, I think might even kind of surprise a lot of people and be revived. Even with losing Joey B, but they've kind of impressed me lately. So I can see them like kind of pulling ahead and getting that wild card.
Yeah, Browning is balling out for them. He's definitely been solid. Um, all right, let's get into the games. The first one is the Broncos and Lions. Broncos getting the impressive win over the Chargers, which I had to watch in person. Justin Herbert is out for the season for the Chargers, and the Broncos just steamrolled the Chargers in that game. Russell Wilson had a good game. Sean Payton looks like he's turned things around over there. Um, Congrats also to Russell Wilson for the on the new baby. Shout out Russell if you're watching. I know you're not, but congrats
Russell Wilson.
on your child.
They're all local
Uh,
recordings, so it's keeping on for him.
yeah, yeah,
Just smile and wave, smile and wave.
yeah. But yeah, Broncos got to go to Detroit. Tough game. Lions are favored by 5. Over under is 48. This is a Saturday night game, so we're getting some Saturday night action. No college football. Something to do for football fans on Saturday with no, college. So, are we ready to buy stock in the Broncos as like a maybe a playoff noisemaker with the way that the Broncos are playing as of late?
I gotta say, I danced on their grave too early. I felt really good about that call in preseason. I thought I was right. Sean Payton, you know what? I gotta give it up to you, man. You turned it around. Russ is cooking again. They look like a solid, pretty damn solid football team. So I'll admit I'm wrong. I was wrong there. They were able to right the ship. Very impressive work. I'm buying. So I'm not rushing out to buy all the stock, put all my chips in Denver winning the AFC West basket or anything. I do think Kansas City will eventually figure it out, but yeah. So I'm at least neutral. I've come a long way though. I'll give myself that.
Yeah, I mean, I once was saying like, oh, the rest of the schedule for the Lions is super easy, no problem, and then Sean Payton and Russell Wilson emerged. So, you know, the Lions have to win this game. I feel like, but I'm buying a little bit of stock into Denver. I really, I've always liked Russell as a player. I just feel like he kind of was getting ahead of himself on a lot of stuff, and Sean's kind of leveled that a bit and brought him back down to reality. I feel like, and it's helping for the team. But I'm surprised the Lions are favored by 5 the way that we've been playing lately. But we'll see. It's gonna be a good one.
Yeah, I think that's a very interesting point, Lexi, about the Vegas line. And I think that might just be like factoring in how the Lions have played at home this year. They've been pretty good, 4-2. Um, the Broncos, they're a team that like is hot right now, and like if you're a team like the Lions that's just trying to stay afloat, but and also just trying to like maybe ascend in the NFC, like this can be a scary team to face. But if I'm the Lions, like if you want an offensive like get back game, this might be a good opportunity to do so. The Broncos defense is, you know, playing well, but like they're still not great. They're still almost last in the league in yards allowed, 23rd in points allowed. They do a good job of creating turnovers, but this might be a game that the Lions are able to take advantage of some of those deficiencies on defense. But you just have to really control what Russ is doing. But no, the Broncos are a hot team right now. I'd be scared to face them if this was a playoff situation for sure, especially with the experience of Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. But regular season, I think the Lions can win this game, and we'll talk about that more later. But as for buying stock in the Broncos, I definitely have them as like a serious like contender in the playoffs and maybe a contender to upset somebody in the wild card round. All right, flipping to the Lions now, who lost a tough game uh, against Green Bay Thanksgiving. We all know that. Had a tough ending last week against Baltimore. Even though they played even though the game was so close. Um, and then I'm sorry, what am I talking about? Um,
The Bears we
oh,
played
the
like
Bears.
last week.
Sorry. Lost a tough game against the Bears. Lost a tough game against the Packers. I don't know why I kept saying Baltimore. Anyway, yeah, two out of three. Um, not great. But those are division games. Things happen. Are you guys selling your Lions stock? I guess I should ask myself that because I had Lions in the Super Bowl. I'm not selling my stock in the Lions. As a Super Bowl team, I might have to sell some stock, but like as a like team that is probably going to win a playoff game or two, I think you guys are probably going to do that if that's like the and I think that's not a bad thing. I think that's a great spot for the Lions to be in as a team that can go out and win a couple playoff games. Super
Yeah, they
Bowl.
need to, like at this point, they need to win two more games, and one of them has to be the Vikings to clinch the division. They need to do that if they want me to buy in again for next year, because like they can't, shit the bed and not win the division, in my opinion. I mean, yeah, like we need that home field advantage, it needs to happen. So winning two out of the four shouldn't be enough. I'm not selling, I'm always going to be a drinker of the Kool-Aid, but it's been pretty disturbing how they've been playing lately and like the coaching and stuff. So I hope they get it together.
It kind of makes sense that they've tapered off a bit. Still a young team, success is really hard to maintain, from, they started out or they finished out hot last year, started out hot this year, but that's a hard thing to maintain when you're just at that level. I'm nowhere near them in the Super Bowl. No offense, Lexi. But a playoff win, I think, would be a massive success for the city of Detroit, and for the Lions organization. And we can't lose sight of that. If that's all they get, that's really not a bad outcome. You obviously want to reach higher, want to keep going further, but that's what I would consider a good outcome. I think the Lions, especially sitting in the catbird seat, and no cat pun intended. I know they're Lions. Um, in the NFC North, like to host a home game, I feel like they have a really good chance to win that, but we'll see.
All right,
So
so
yeah, definitely not. I'm not counting on the Super Bowl anymore. I'm like one step at a time.
all right, so I'm taking the Lions to win this game. I think this is a spot where they say, okay, we need to win it. We got to protect home um, field here. This is an appealing game. This is a team that's going to come in hungry. I feel like the Lions are just better on both sides of the ball. Goff is due for um, a game where he kind of gets back into the rhythm. And again, based on what I mentioned about the defense, I'm just not loving the Broncos coming into this situation against a team that really needs to win. So I like the Lions.
Yeah, I got the Lions too. It's a must win in my book, so they gotta do it.
I think even though the Broncos are better, they're not exactly world beaters. I think they are beatable when a team really needs to beat them, and I think the Lions are better than them. So give me the Lions.
All right, let's go to the next game. This is a Sunday, 425. Cowboys 10-3, leading the NFC East. Bills fighting for their playoff lives. Currently the 11th seed in the AFC. 7-6, coming off a big win against the Chiefs. Favored by 2.5 against the Cowboys. Over under is 50.5. kind of surprised at that. The Bills being a favorite. They've won some tough games, but it looks like the line's down to 2 right now, so the line's moving. But yeah, I think it's interesting that they are favorite at all. Whether I don't know what that will be. That might be something to look at. But yeah, maybe they figured Dallas coming off a big emotional win, coming into Buffalo. Maybe the weather helps the Bills in this game. Um, but my question is, McDermott. A lot of comments came out about how he's not getting along with Josh Allen, and he's making some weird 9/11 comparisons, and very weird things happening. But we know the Bills are still fighting for the playoffs, and maybe if they make it, this is a moot point. But do you guys feel like McDermott is on the hot seat?
I wouldn't say like hot seat. I think that it's a little bit concerning how they've been playing. I mean, yeah, it's great they got the win against Kansas City, but it took being off sides, like that to happen when it was like an emergency for them to win that game. So I just say I'll be questioning things, and if they don't make the playoffs, obviously that'll be a huge red flag, and I'd be probably, his seat will get pretty hot at that point, I think.
My mic button wouldn't turn on. Apologies. No, I'm not gonna. I wouldn't put him on the hot seat just yet. I think that'd be a little bit too rash. Yeah, the Bills have had a really rough season. Haven't had the breaks go their way, but overall, I don't necessarily think he's the problem just yet. After a really solid win in Kansas City, they're trending the right way. So yeah, I'm still holding out faith that he'll get things figured out.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting. I think when you hear the dynamic, like some of the stuff in the article bothered me, like that he doesn't have a good relationship with Josh, which like isn't necessary. We know now that Tom Brady and Bill Belichick didn't have much of a relationship either. And I'm not saying that I'm not comparing the Josh Allen and Tom Brady as quarterbacks or McDermott and Belichick as coaches, but we know that's not always necessary. But it is kind of like weird, and it seems like it's not like McDermott's just having a hard time with relationships with in the building. And the article talked about how he was jealous of other coaches that had good relationships with the teammates, and how he talked bad about Cam Newton in Carolina, and there's a lot of like weird stuff like that. So I think it's something to. I don't think McDermott is necessarily on the hot seat, because at the end of the day, if you're talking about the Bills as a franchise and them coming off of 20 plus years of losing and not having stability at coach and quarterback, they have it. And so I guess if you're the organization, you're going to want to keep it for as long as you can. But I think that this dynamic with McDermott is something to look out for. And you never know, like, if things go wrong this year, they could look to replace him earlier than people expect. Um, but kind of back to the game situation. How do you guys feel about it? I think the Bills are going to win this game, because I think, like, again, I will be happy to eat crow if Dallas proves me wrong, but this is a spot where Dallas coming off that big win, they themselves having to go to Buffalo, tough environment to play. Buffalo's hungry. This is like the opposite of like the Lions Broncos game. Like, this is one where it's like, all right, the team that is hot coming to a team that has won games by the skin of their teeth, and they know they have to win this game to survive in the playoffs. Like, the Bills have all the leverage on their side to win this game, and I think they have the talent to do it if they take care of the ball, limit their mistakes, and put a lot of pressure on Dak. Um, don't let them get in any type of rhythm, and I think the Bills can pull it out.
Yeah, I'm on Buffalo as well. The Cowboys haven't played in poor weather like at all this season. If you go back and look, they've been in a dome most of this recent period of time. I believe their last outdoor game was in Carolina, so as you know, Max, perfect weather for that time of year. Um, They played the Eagles, not bad weather there either, So I don't want to, only fixate on the weather, but they've kind of been at home, a little bit. They've had their home cooking, at AT&T Stadium, staying nice and comfy, nice and cozy, and Buffalo is going to be a bit jarring for them. Hell, their last game, that they went on the road, they lost, or the last time they lost was on the road in a tough environment, which was Philly. So I think that's going to be a bit jarring for them. Like you said, probably a lot of satisfactory feelings after beating the Eagles. Hated rival right there, but the road has a way of throwing a rocket at how you play, and can they adjust? After being comfortable for all these weeks, and Buffalo has the mo. They have the team. I'm going to go with the Bills.
And I want to say real quick, Bobby, on the flip side of that, like you mentioned, like Dallas has all the good feelings from beating the Eagles, like emotional division opponent type big win. They blew them out. Like with the Bills, is the opposite. You were up 14-0 to the Chiefs in the Arrowhead, and then you almost gave that game away. Like if I'm for that call, like Bills lose that game, and so from the Bills' perspective, you're like, we got to get our shit together because we almost lost, a big game at Arrowhead. So, I think the Bills are going to be like even more focused, more motivated because they had that game in control for most of it and almost gave it away. Like that's if that doesn't wake you up, nothing else will. So, yeah.
They're that perfect middle ground between like not confident or not like confident. They're not fat and happy after a big win, but they're not down on themselves because of blowing that lead. They're excited about surviving, but they know the urgency and they know how they almost completely screwed it up.
Yeah.
So it's like that perfect hunger zone. I'm right there with you, Max.
Yeah, I mean, so everyone knows I'm just so anti-Cowboys. I've not had a good time watching them just totally kill it, and they're on fire. I can't deny like what Dak has been doing and producing on the field. I think that they're just firing on all cylinders, and as much as yeah, I know the Bills won that game. I've just kind of cashed out on them, and Josh Allen this season. I don't trust him to get it together and win these games. I mean, I just really don't think he certainly didn't do that, this past week, even with the Chiefs. It just wasn't like impressive. So I think going against a team like the Cowboys that has been good, it's going to be a little bit of a heartbreak in Buffalo. So give me the Cowboys. I hate saying it, but
Yeah. Um, yeah, I think either way is a good call. Definitely gonna be one of the games of the weekend for sure. All right, moving on to the Sunday night game. It's the Ravens who are 10-3 after a big win, and then they are favored by 3.5, going to play the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars, um, are coming off of some tough injuries and some tough games. Lost to the Browns in a close one. Lost to the Bengals in overtime the week before that. They're still in the lead in the AFC South, but they need this win really badly. The Ravens had that crazy win in overtime against the Rams. Um, and they're on a little 3-game winning streak here. So kind of like two teams on the opposite sides, two division leaders, one trying to hang on during a losing streak, the other trying to keep going and keep their dominance at the top of the AFC, getting some help from losses from the Chiefs and the Dolphins. But is this a must win for the Jaguars? Bobby mentioned earlier his bold prediction of the Texans winning the AFC South. The Texans, um, unless unless the unless they got exposed last week in their loss, like we know what the Texans are capable of. Um, so there's still a chance that they take the lead in this division. So for the Jaguars hosting the tough team with the Ravens, trying to get back on the winning side is just a must-win game for them.
I think they have one in them. I think they have one loss in them. And if it's going to happen, let it happen to the AFC, leading Ravens. It's a home game. You don't love to see that, but the Ravens have been on an absolute tear. That's fine. That's acceptable. But from there on out, you can't lose the rest of them. Um, this is this game drops you, level with the rest of the AFC South, who, even though the Texans haven't looked great, bit of a yucky game, why did I just use the word yucky as an adult? Jesus. Gross game. But no, essentially all I'm trying to say is the rest of their games are winnable. So I mean, I think this would be the one to drop if possible. But at that point, then it's you're screwed otherwise, because I think the Texans, what we saw last week, was not really indicative of who they are, given the weather, everything they had to deal with. So we'll see.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like a must win. Because I mean the rest of their schedule, like they've got Panthers at home, they're at Bucks, and then they finish off with the Titans at their place. So, they lose this one, it's not going to be like the end of the road. I think, they'll unfortunately, Max probably get that win against the Panthers.
Oh, yeah.
But, it's, yeah, I wouldn't say must win, but it'll be good if they do. But I think Ravens are just too hot right now and too good of a team for them.
One word answer. Who's your MVP right now, Dak or Lamar?
Dak.
Gotta go with Lamar. I'm gonna go with Lamar.
Lamar.
I love Lamar. Dak's just playing so good, and I can't.
For me, it's a storyline of Lamar losing such a weapon and Mark Andrews and just continuing to roll on.
Yeah, that's true.
I think, and Lamar doesn't have a CeeDee Lamb on this team. I understand. I literally just did an OU bias thing by being like, well, one guy lost an OU player and the other guy has an OU player, so that means the guy who lost the OU player is better. But genuinely, that's the case. Hey, hashtag OU DNA. It's just all over the league. What can you say? But no, that's my thing. Is I feel like Lamar is doing a lot more with a little bit less, and because of that, I'm trending Lamar right now. Which is well deserved. I feel like he doesn't get his flowers nearly enough around the league, because he's just absolutely just killing it off of a massive contract here. He wanted to get paid, he got paid, and he's performing like a highly paid gentleman. So
Bobby took the words right out of my mouth. I'm a big proponent of, if you do more with less, like, you deserve the MVP, you deserve the Heisman, like whatever awards there are. Like, if you take a team that's best weapons out, and you have like the corpse of OBJ, and you're just winning games. Like, nah, but for real. I mean, yeah, Lamar for me is it. I mean, Dak is great. I think like last week we had this conversation with Jalen Hurts and Dak, and I finally was like, okay, yeah, Dak, but like what Lamar is doing without his weapons is just like is great. Okay. Last game we're gonna dive into, it's the Eagles 10-3 Monday night game against the Seahawks 6-7. The Seahawks are still hanging on in the NFC. They're favored by 4 points in this game. The Seahawks are favored by 4. Let me double check that.
What?
That does not seem right. I might have miswrote
that.
That's wrong. That's wrong. Sorry.
Okay. I was like, I mean, what does Vegas know?
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna.
The Eagles are the 4-point favorite on the road. Got to go all the way to Seattle on Monday night. Not an easy thing to do. The Seahawks over under is 40. I mean, the Eagles Seahawks over under is 47.5. Okay, here's one talking point I want to get to really quick. Pete Carroll. We all thought last year, wow, look what he's doing with Geno, and the Seahawks are awesome, and Russell Wilson stinks. Like the Broncos stink. Blah blah blah. But now the shoe's on the other foot, and the Broncos are doing well, and Russell's playing well. And year 2, with Geno not looking so good, Seattle barely hanging on in the West. Like, is Pete Carroll getting exposed a little bit? We all wanted to put the finger at Russ the last 2 years for what's happening in his kind of final years in Seattle, but it looks like Russ is still a pretty good quarterback, and Pete Carroll's struggling. Even though they have some talent over there, like, well, how do you guys feel about Pete Carroll?
Dread it, run from it. The tape still arrives in the off season. That's what got him. He pulled a rabbit out of his hat last year, and you got to give him props for that. But clearly, what he's doing isn't good enough to work a second consecutive year. Gino's not quite the same guy, and I think a lot of that is because teams have had to prep for it, and they've been able to lock in on it a little bit. What he's done is impressive. I'm not trying to knock Geno Smith at his age. Very, very impressive stuff. But he just flat out isn't that good. He's not that good to overcome defenses preparing for him better. That particular part of the game right now, he's just not at that level. He never was. But with prep time, they kind of got found out a little bit. That being said, I think Pete Carroll could spin something up next year or eventually or with a different quarterback. But whatever this variation was, it worked last year, not working this year. And I think a lot of that's because that part got found out.
Yeah, I think that.
Yeah.
I think. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay. Real quick, I think Pete Carroll made a mistake on doubling down on Geno Smith this year. I think what this, and I think I mentioned this when we talked about the draft, but I think what the Seahawks should have done is just taken Will Levis and stashed him. And that way, this year, Geno can't turn back into Geno Smith, which, was very predictable. You could have at least had Will Levis, to look forward to year, have him learn under a vet. And then, now your future in Seattle looks a little bit brighter. Now, in a great quarterback draft class, you're sort of a middle of the road team. And next year you have to decide, is Pete Carroll staying on? Is he going to retire? What's he going to do? Geno Smith, what are you going to do with him? And, you're not going to be in the position to pick, high to get, a Caleb or Drake. So now you're going to have to decide, between Michael Williams Jr., Jaden Daniels, all these other guys like Bo Nix type guys, when you could have had maybe Will Levis, who is, looking solid so far in Tennessee. Like, you could have been in that circumstance. So, fortunately, they do still have a lot of talent at receiver and some other positions, but in running back and some other positions. But I think the Seahawks made a mistake on doubling down on Geno this year. But I guess they had to because he played for the last year. Maybe they felt like they had to, but I feel like they should have gone on the quarterback. Just my opinion.
Yeah. The more that the Seahawks play, I just hate that Pete Carroll and them always have the Lions number. It aggravates me, but yeah, they're just not good this year. I always wanted to root for Geno. I think that he's great guy and stuff, but he just doesn't really have it. Maybe a few years back it would have continued, but I think Pete Carroll is getting a little bit of exposed for his decisions and the way that he is stubborn about things and refuses to kind of maybe look elsewhere for certain things. But I don't see the Seahawks pulling this one out.
Yeah, I feel bad for Seahawks and Patriots fans. Two teams that were in the Super Bowl almost 10 years ago. Well, has it been 10 years?
Oh, two teams.
Yeah, about 10 years ago. We're coming up on it. Two teams played in the Super Bowl. Two, Hall of Fame level coaches are now holding their teams hostage. And all you're getting is some mid in both situations. So good luck to those fan bases moving forward.
I don't have sympathy for either, so they can just.
I have no sympathy for Pete Carroll ever.
No.
USC Pete Carroll
or the Patriots. You guys have won enough. Enjoy whatever is going to be happening.
Look, I'm just saying, winning teams are temporary, but championship DVDs are forever. Invest in physical media, people.
Okay. Real quick, let's pick this game. I got the Eagles. I think they're the better team. They can afford to lose this game, but they obviously know they need to win it to have a chance to get the number one seed and have a chance to, take back the division lead, especially in a situation where the Dallas Cowboys might lose, and they'll know what they won or lost by the time this game is played. So, give me the Eagles, more talent, better team, taking Philadelphia.
Yeah, Philly's been hit with two big juggernauts. One with the Niners, one with the Cowboys. This game at Seattle, even though it's on the road, that's a get back game you need. They're not going to lose three straight, and it's not going to be Seattle. So, Eagles.
Yeah, Eagles all day. I think it's going to be a pretty lopsided game actually because they're pissed, and they're a great team. They're Super Bowl caliber, and they're not going to slip up again. Not, like Bobby said, not to the Seahawks. So Eagles all day.
All right, let's get to rapid fire picks. We got Bengals and Vikings. Terrible looking quarterback matchup, but both of these teams are still in the playoff picture. So, um, still in a very important game for playoff implications. Uh, so, who you got, Bengals or the Vikings?
I'm going to take the Bengals in this one. I think that the Vikings have kind of been falling short lately, and I like where the Bengals are kind of going. Even like I said, they don't have Joey B, but yeah, give me the Bengals in this one.
Yeah, the Vikings are starting Nick Mullins in this one. Can't say where University of Southern Mississippi. I'm out on him. I'm out on it. They're flailing at this point. Um, yeah, no, just give them a Viking funeral at this point and move on to the off season. Bengals.
Yeah, I like the Bengals going here. I think the Vikings, tough injury to Jefferson, just got too many nicks and bruises, too many things going on. I think they are obviously still fighting, to stay in the playoff race. They still are 7-6, but the Bengals are fighting too, and I think just based on infrastructure, quarterback health, all that, uh, give me Cincinnati to win this game. All right, Steelers at Colts. These two teams are currently the sixth and seventh seed in the AFC. Sort of unbelievable, but true. Uh, could have some playoff implications. For both sides. Um, you know, Colts trying to stay in the race, and the Steelers, trying to stay there too. So, uh, who you taking? Oh, go ahead. Yeah, Colts or Steelers.
This is just kind of like an icky matchup. I'll say icky
It
because you said
is.
yucky, but you know, the Colts have just been bad. I feel like the Steelers can find a way to win this. So yeah, it's just no good offense there. Give me the Steelers though.
Steelers, I guess. I don't know. I'm just both of these teams, man. What a weird one. I'm gonna go with Pittsburgh to bounce back, I suppose. Tomlin needs to show pulse at some point this season.
Yeah, I'm taking the Colts. The Colts are in that playoff race firmly, and if they win this game at home, then they have a really interesting path to securing a playoff spot with the Falcons, Raiders, and Texans coming up. Um, Now those aren't they're not easy games, but that's a manageable schedule moving forward. And I think that if the Colts take care of business here, they can go on a little slide here. The Steelers have a much tougher schedule moving forward, so I think they need this game more. But offensively, I think the Colts I like a little bit better than the Steelers. But the Colts also don't play any defense, so who knows? But I'm taking the team that I know can score points, and that's the Colts. Um, all right, moving on. Bucks Packers. Bucks trying to stay in the division lead. Packers trying to stay in the NFC playoff race. Had a tough out there against the Giants. Crazy game. But yeah, still trying to stay afloat. Who you guys got?
You know,
Oh, you're on mute,
I'm
Lex.
gonna go.
I know you're talking.
I'm gonna go with the Bucks. I'm gonna go with the Bucks to keep it hot. Um, No, I'm not. I immediately regret this. That on the road in Lambeau, I don't know. I feel like the Packers, they have their deficiencies. Last night's game, recording this on a Tuesday, losing to what's Danny Cutlets or whatever. Jeez, I'm blanking on the guy's name. Tommy Cutlets, Tommy DeVito. I love Syracuse back in those days.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, I that's an unacceptable loss, but it's on the road. You understand it. Everyone's feeling the vibes on Monday night. But overall, I think they're a better team than what they showed. And at home in Lambeau, I think they beat Baker and the guys. Yeah, so Pack.
Yeah, I'm taking the Packers here. I mean, I would love for the Bucks to pull this off, but Packers got to win some games to get to the playoffs, and there's always home cooking in Lambeau. So give me Packers.
Yeah, Packers struggled on offense. I think they find a better rhythm against the Bucks defense, who isn't as good as what the Giants were. Kind of home situation. Give me the Packers to win the game. I had a fun, kind of a funner one. Well, it's not a fun game, but it's just like a fun pick because it's like the Chiefs who like desperately need a win versus the Pats who desperately need to lose, but they keep winning. Like, you think the Chiefs can go to New England and beat the Patriots who keep finding ways to win even though they shouldn't?
All right.
Nobody heard me. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, that's all good. That's all good. We'll skip that one. We'll skip that one. All right, lock of the week. Um, last week we were not great with the lock of the week picks. Lexi had the Buffalo and Chiefs over 47.5. Fair pick, but that went under, mostly because the Chiefs couldn't score for a long time. Um, Bobby was the only winner by taking Buffalo at plus 2.5. Buffalo won the game, obviously, so that was a good pick. And then I had the Eagles at plus 2.5. The Eagles got blown out, so not work for me.
Bobby's gonna like sneakily catch up to me.
Yeah.
I gotta start winning again.
Yeah. Lexi's still in the lead at 18. Bobby's catching up at 16. I'm at 13, so no one's out of it, but gonna have to do a lot of work to get her at Lexi. So Lexi's got to do some work to stay in the lead. All right, Bobby, why don't you do the honors? As since you're the only winner from last week, why don't you start us off here?
The irony of Lexi's Wolverines just like trampolining me to within reach of taking the lead. By the way, shout out to Michigan for shutting out Iowa. Anyways, I'm gonna keep it simple. I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles -4 on the road against the Seahawks. I think two straight. They need this win, and frankly, I just don't think the Seahawks could stop them. So that's a pick.
Yeah, I'm taking the Ravens Jags over. I like both offenses to, score quite a bit here, and it's at what was it, 48 or I'm sorry.
The over.
It's at 43.5. So I feel like that's kind of, a little bit low. I think that over is going to hit though.
Okay, and Bobby, just to make sure, you had the Eagles -4, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right, my lock is also from the Eagles Seahawks game. I'm taking the Eagles Seahawks over. Their over under is 47.5. The Eagles are currently allowing 24, almost 25 points a game. They're 28th in the NFL in points allowed. And right ahead of them is the Seahawks at 27th in NFL in points allowed. So both of these defenses are terrible. Both of these defenses give up a lot of points. Seahawks, need this win to stay in the playoff race. Eagles need to bounce back from the Cowboys loss. I think this is going to be a barn burner. This over might hit at halftime, to be honest with you. So I'm going to hammer that. That might actually be something that I put real money on because that is like a really tasty over. Um, but but yeah, that's mine. So that's our picks. That's our show. Thanks for staying locked in with us, and we'll see you next week for more football. And we're 1 week closer to the college football playoff, which I am so excited about this year. So
It's gonna be so good.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Me too.
All right, we'll see you guys again.
All right.
Take care. Peace.
See ya.
Yeah.